Well, with more on all of that, I'm joined by my colleague Saeed Shehata from the BBC Arabic service. Thanks for coming into the studio. We've just heard that President Biden's going to be in Israel on Wednesday. What do you think he is going to face in terms of dealing with the challenges in ending this conflict?
I think he knows before he made his decision to come to the area, because he's meeting Benjamin Netanyahu and the other official in Israel, as well as in Jordan he's meeting King Abdullah of Jordan, the Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, and the Palestinian leader Mahmoud Abbas. All of that, I think, after he'll listen from Blinken about all the Arab leaders insisted on the humanitarian assistance, because the situation in Gaza is devastating, because people moving based on Israel request to move to the south. Now, for example, in the city of Khan Yunis, there is supposed to be 400,000 people. Now there is 1 million people. There is queuing on bakery. There is not enough toilets, so there is fear of spread of diseases. Martin Griffith himself,
from the UN, of course.
Yeah, he is the UN General Secretary for Humanitarian Assistant or Affairs. He said like the blockade on humanitarian aid should be stopped, as well as the hostages should be released without delay. So he makes a balance of the statement, because you need to reply to the requests of both sides. So the visit of Biden, I think, he will come to make a breakthrough, just to allow the foreigners who have double nationalities on near Rafah to come into Egypt in return for a long convoy of trucks, which will be helping about 1 million Palestinians in Gaza to go through. This is the agreement, or this is the talk, and they will talk about other things. So this is a situation there between, or the expectation from the Arab leaders on this issue.
And one of the key questions is whether the Rafah border crossing will be opened to allow essential humanitarian aid through. Just tell us how crucial that could be.
Crucial because it's the only route for the assistance to go through to Gaza. But the problem is it was hit by airstrike from the side of Egypt. It was hit, and before it was hit from the Palestinian side a few days ago. So Egypt insisting, Fattah al-Sisi insisting, the president of Egypt, that we need to allow the assistance because people in need for that. And as the United Nations says, the hospitals on the verge of collapse, the system, the whole health system. So there is urgent need. So the urgent need will, I think, put pressure on Israel, on Hamas, on Egypt, through the meetings of Biden to make breakthroughs. So I think it will be some kind of deal to allow that as a starting point. And then they will go through negotiation, what they do about the ground offense and the hostages and the other stuff. But I think this is a good start because the pressure and the need is immense. And all the demonstrations in different places is calling for helping civilians in Gaza.
And you talk about civilians in Gaza. You mentioned there the number of people in Khan Yunis now growing by the day as people have left northern Gaza. What are your colleagues on the ground telling you about the situation there? The
situation is people, even like our colleague in Gaza and the correspondent, they meeting people in hospitals and on different places for facilities like schools of United Nations, all of them complaining because there is real shortage of food, of fuel, electricity, and water. So the suffering is immense. And I think Israel, as Blinken said, they have some sort of agreement that they will allow the system to come in order to ease the pressure and the tension from the area. And this will lead away more or less to make the situation is a little bit calm. So all the reporting coming from Gaza saying we need help sooner than later, otherwise it will be a disaster in Gaza, and more people will die because of the shortage of the food and water.
Saeed Shehata from BBC Arabic, thank you very much for coming into the studio.